Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the DucksNPucks podcast. This is the number one home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walsh, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard, and we have tons of Ducks stuff to talk about on this show. The Ducks have played 6 games so far. They've had some good games and some not so good games, so we'll dive into that. Eddie and I also were able to go catch a game together as well. We'll talk about some of the pregame stuff that the Ducks upgraded, which has been phenomenal. We'll break down some individual efforts and team efforts that we'll talk about with the team. A little bit of trade news out there that we'll discuss and some league news as well. But before we dive into everything, Eddie, you know the question that we always ask each other, what are you drinking?
Actually have a Michelob Ultra. Had some from this weekend and have a tall can of that. I changed it up from my usual seltzer drinks. And then like I usually do, cheers to the microphone, taking a shot of Pink Whitney. Mike, what are you drinking?
You know I'm doing my usual, doing my Red Bull vodka.
Can't go wrong with that. Lower calories too.
Yeah, I always do sugar-free, baby. Sugar-free.
Hell yeah.
I should get Red Bull as a sponsor, damn it.
Yeah, we should. So Mike, what have you been up to? It's been a while since we've been on the show. Anything new? What's going on? Do you win the lottery? Didn't tell me.
No, nothing much. Just been working a lot. You know that's nothing super exciting. During the summer we talked about some of the trips going to Arizona and Vegas and San Diego. Some of the places I like to hit up. Kind of got all those out of the way. I did go to Arizona right before the season started, so I got kind of that last vacation in there, and that was really it. I try to pack it in. Ironically, in September, because that's the better half's birthday, and we kind of celebrate the month. That's kind of how we do it. So, always trying to knock some trips out and things like that in the month of September, and that's really it. Now, I've just been working and hanging in there, doing that kind of stuff. So, that's been about it. Have you been up to anything different lately?
Stuff, work as usual. Work, hanging out. Went to Texas for a few days. That was nice to get out and just kind of get out of California, and went to some mazes out there. Were really cool. I think 13 doors or something it's called in I forgot, Austin, Texas. I flew to San Antonio, spent time over there, but we went to Austin, and those mazes are really cool out there. The people are nice. It's just different experience than it is, and way cheaper than it is in California, so that was fun. So just been working, watching hockey, and getting ready this season. Hopefully get some more games in with you, Mike. Another question too, Mike, since Halloween's coming up. What are you planning to wear as a Halloween costume? Are you even going to dress up this year?
Yeah, that one's hard because I usually end up working a lot on Halloween. But the one I have that I haven't done yet is to dress up like Rocky in the original movies, right? 1 and 2. I have the gray sweats, the Chuck shoes, and the red headband that he wore. So that's if we do something this year, that's what I want to do. I have the outfit and it's ready to go.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't really. I wanted to go to a Halloween party. It's been a really busy month and a lot of things going on. So I haven't really gotten there. I did buy a squid costume for my beer league team for next week. My beer league team I play for is called Was Kraken. And they made a little, kind of a spin-off on the Kraken jersey. And it's funny because none of us are Kraken fans, but it was just a cool idea that my team came up with. So I'm going to go ahead and put a squid costume on with my jersey and skate around warm-ups next week. So that should be fun. I even thought about, too, because I've been watching The Walking Dead again. I love Negan. I don't know why I like that cryptic character, but I want to be like a hockey player version of Negan. Wear the same exact leather jacket with some Ducks jersey underneath, the jeans, the boots, but instead of having a baseball bat and barbed wire, I'm going to have a hockey stick and barbed wire. I think that'd be pretty cool. It's not going to be real barbed wire. I don't trust myself, but still got a good concept. But yeah, that's about it. So if I dress up, I'll post some pictures.
Nice. I'll do the same if I do the Rocky thing. That's been one that I've had ready to go. So
that's a good. But you have to memorize his speech though. When he was giving that speech to his son, like the world's not all sunshine and rainbows. That was a good speech. So you gotta do that.
Yes. I will have to see. We'll see what happens during that week. I don't know what the plan is as of yet, but that would be the goal. All right, let's jump into it. Just a reminder that we are part of the Old City Sports Network. And if you like beef jerky, we have a good discount for you over at righteousfelon.com. Check them out. Put in the code OCSN for a discount. And then there's other companies as well, and they're listed in the description box. So, okay, let's jump into what happened with the Ducks. So far, in the first couple weeks this season, they went on the road. They played back-to-back games against the Sharks and then the Vegas Knights. When we talked last time on the show, we had found out that Gibson had an appendix issue and that he was not going to start the season. The Ducks picked up James Reimer on waivers, and that was the goalie situation. We thought it would be a Gibson, Dostal, back and forth kind of thing. Obviously now Gibson's out. He is back skating. But he did not play in these 2 weeks. So what we saw on the first weekend is we saw Dostal against the Sharks and then Reimer against the Vegas Knights. Yeah, the Ducks ended up winning one and losing one to start off the weekend. The game against the Sharks, kind of a boring game, kind of a slow game. Not a lot happening in the first half of the game. The Ducks did get a goal later on in this one, and then also an empty net goal to win this one. Not super exciting, but it was good to see the Ducks get a shutout for Dostal and win the opener. And then they also went to Vegas where Reimer played, and a little bit of a rougher game. Vegas, it always seems that they have our number. You had a turnover early on in that one by Fowler that led to a goal. The Ducks answered back with Terry getting a goal as well to make it close, but then Vegas with a early power play and another goal in the third to win that one 3-1. So these first opening games, Eddie, what are your thoughts? And the Ducks ended up splitting them. Not too bad, back to back on the road, and you don't have Gibson in there, so you had Reimer that had to come in there and play in Vegas. But I thought it was okay. I thought they did okay in the first two games. I wasn't super excited, but I did like the result in game one, and then obviously in game two it didn't go our way.
Yeah, game one, I was really kind of upset and sad. It was such a boring game. I felt like I was rewatching one of my beer league games, and when I'm playing, I think I'm like skating fast. When I rewatch the game, it's all slow, and half of us are drunk on the rink and looks like crap. That's what it felt like watching that first game. Like I hate to criticize that very first game because they did actually come out with the win, but it was so boring. Mike, I couldn't watch the game. I had to shut it off. I was in Texas trying to watch it, and I was like streaming it from my phone. And we're gonna find a bar to watch it at. I was like, you know what? Let's just do something else. The game was just. I didn't want to go to sleep. They're 2 hours ahead, so it's like I didn't want to nap. But I think they played a lot better in Vegas. Vegas has an elite team. San Jose has an AHL team. And I think they held their own, I guess, against Vegas. Vegas has elite superstar talent players. I have a franchise player, and he's been with Jack Eichel, and he's been lighting it up lately. So I want to say it was more entertaining to watch them lose against Vegas than them win against the Sharks. That's me though.
Yeah, I feel a little bit similar too to what you're discussing there too. That game against the Sharks was just very, very slow. Not a lot happening in the first two periods there, and then in the Vegas game, it was more exciting. You had a couple turnovers in the first period that led to goals for each team, and the Ducks were in that one till the third period when Vegas scored on the power play. So it was an entertaining battle, and we'll dive into like individual stats and team stats kind of towards the end of talking about these games. But the Ducks looked better in the first two games, and then they had the home opener against Utah, which I went to, which of all these games so far was probably the most exciting game. You had the Ducks scoring first in this one, and then you had the seesaw battle of each team scoring 2 goals back and forth. The Ducks looked like they were out of it in this one. They were down 4-3 late in the game. They got the tying goal, late in the third period, and then you had a fantastic overtime game winner by Carlson in this one. And the Ducks pulled this off, beating the Utah hockey team, as they're called right now, 5-4, and this was the Ducks' ninth home opener win in a row. And I will tell you, Eddie, being at this game in person was super, super exciting, and I liked what I saw, even though, of course, Utah is kind of an expansion team, or I guess the extension of Arizona, however you want to look at it. But Arizona's tend to play us tough in the last couple of years, and this was an exciting game. Good to see the Ducks not give up at the end and pull out with the win.
Yeah, they set, like, for some reason they seem to really their home openers, they really come out to play. They give us false hope, because last few they haven't lost. Like, I think I've been to 7 in a row home openers and they haven't lost. I had to unfortunately miss this one against Utah. I was planning to go, but some family stuff I had to take care of, and that's kind of takes precedence over hockey. But it was a fun game, and you saw our young guns getting in there. Minty had 2 tucks, and then Carlson with the 2 points too, the game winner. It was all around electric. I don't know if the 21st Duck gets them all fired up, but maybe she should be there more often or at every game to get them all motivated and fired up. I don't know what goes on. They're just too excited. But that's an impressive record, not losing that many times at home openers, and they looked like a totally different team. They just looked like they were ready to go. I got false hope, like, okay, maybe this team can actually do something productive and really do a 180 from the last few times that we've seen them. Last few seasons. But yeah, overall it was a good game. I wish I was there. I'm glad for all the fans that were there, and at least I get to watch it on TV, and it was so fun to watch.
Yeah, it was fun, and the Ducks upgraded their pregame show, the music and everything, and posted some of the videos on there. Actually got invited last minute to see some of the stuff beforehand, which I was able to post some of it, not other stuff. And I was laughing because next to my name on the roll sheet, it said Ducks Influencer. So I guess apparently, Eddie, that's our new thing now. We're Ducks Influencers over at DucksNPucks. So I thought that was hilarious, and I got to post that. So if you haven't been at a game and seen it, or you haven't seen the videos, go on our Instagram. I posted them all on there. It's great. They really did upgrade it. They've even got some flying ducks, 3 of them that go and fly around before the game, which is hilarious, which took me kind of back in time, Eddie, because we talked about this when we went to the Kings game. All they're missing is the little hook where they were dropping those coupons and everything. But I really do like how they upgraded, all the effects and everything in the pregame, Eddie.
Oh yeah, it looks really good. They did a good job on that. They finally came, I guess, with the times. I believe Vegas was one of the first arenas that started doing that. So I'm glad they invested the money for their fans. So that was good to see. Those ducks are a little lame, but it'd be cool if they dropped something like, get some rubber duckies and drop those. Like, just you fly around a little circle and you go back, and then one of the ducks' butt is popping out, which we'll talk about, and the game against the Kings. But yeah, I like what they're doing, and they're making those changes. So that's good. And what I'm hearing too, I know Clayton Keller, I guess maybe leaked the name, but it seems like the Utah Hockey Club are going to be called the Utah Yeti, or some kind of variation of that. So that's going to be interesting to see when they finally announce it. And the Spittin' Chicklets had the owner on there too, and kind of was hinting at the Yeti. But yeah, Clayton Keller already made it slip on one of his interviews, so I don't know if that was just kind of pulling everyone's chain, or if he actually let that slip. But the only thing I have the issue with the Yeti name is the Yeti was a mascot for the Colorado Avalanche, so it's like you're kind of stealing that. But it still would be a good look. I can't wait to see what the jersey will look like, because I don't know why everyone's so ooh and all over just the jersey that they have on the ice. I think they're terrible. The colors are amazing. I love seeing the colors, but I just don't like the jerseys.
Yeah, the jerseys, like you said, the colors are cool, but the jerseys are super boring and plain. Obviously, of course, they don't have the official name out there, but you're right. The Yeti thing was part of the Avalanche thing, so maybe they should go with the Utah Abominable Snowman. That'd be fucking hilarious, Like, let's just go. I mean, it'd be hard to announce that shit. People would probably misspell it, and fuck it up, but I think that'd be hilarious. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of leaked several times that it sounds like it's going to be Yeti, so I do want to see what those new jerseys are, and yeah, they I don't know, they need some work. I get it. They don't have the official name out there, but I'm just like, okay, Team Utah, yay! Like, okay, whatever. So not a big fan. But speaking of that Yeti in Colorado, that was the next team that the Ducks played, Eddie. Yes.
Yeah, one more thing. You know what? One of their games, they broke a record for the most alcohol sold during a game. They sold over $120,000 worth of alcohol during their game. I believe it was the home opener, or if it's not the home opener, it's one of their games. But they sold over $120,000 in alcohol. That is nuts for a hockey game. So that's just one of those stats I read about and wanted to throw out there before we start moving on to Colorado.
Oh yeah. Did you see the other part of that too? There was like a fan drinking alcohol out of his shoe. Did you see that?
I didn't see that one. But
Yes. There was a guy. I was like, and that's the thing. They were like, oh, yeah, Utah knows how to party and I'm like, if you're drinking alcohol out of your shoe, you must be really drunk, dude. Because I would never drink anything out of my shoe. But hey. Utah, you do Utah. I don't know, man. But yeah, you're right. It sounds like a fun atmosphere. So, I mean, it's good. Check it out. Hopefully they'll get that name out there soon and a newer jersey with an actual, like, real logo than just, the word Utah. But like I was saying, they didn't play Colorado. This was kind of all the games the Ducks have played so far. This was a very, very weird game. The Ducks got an early goal. Again, Carlson in there, crashed the net, scoring. Carlson has been playing great this season so far. And then they had a weird situation where they got another goal. They were attacking. The puck hit the net up above. The refs did not call it. The puck came back in the neutral zone. The Ducks brought it back in and Strome scored. The Avalanche fans were upset, understandably so. But if you look under Rule 38, the play is not reviewable because the puck had already come back out into the neutral zone. So it's like starting all over again. So kind of a break for the Ducks. So the Ducks had life in this game. They were up 2-0 in the first period. And Colorado was kind of shorthanded, had a lot of guys hurt in this one. And you thought, oh man, like, wow, the Ducks might win this game or do pretty well. And then they had a couple bad line changes in the second period that hurt them. They had one early in the second period where they only had 4 guys on ice. Colorado got a breakaway and scored. They had too many men on the ice at the end of the period. That gave them a power play, which Colton scored on early in the third, and he got another goal in that third to make it 3-2. And it looked like the Ducks were toast, but the Ducks got some power plays. Towards the end of the period, they did not score, but Terry comes up with a goal with 12.6 seconds to go to tie it up. And then in overtime, it was all Avs. And they got one past Dostal, who got a piece of it. But the Ducks ended up losing this one 4-3 in overtime. Super entertaining game. But this game, it was weird. It kind of reminded me of the Ducks last year because Colorado put up 99 shot attempts in this game to 59 for the Ducks. The second and third period was completely dominated by Colorado. I think if it wasn't for some of those power plays late in the third that gave the Ducks the momentum to get that goal, the Ducks probably lose in regulation. They did fight back, obviously, and were able to force overtime and get a point, which is good because we were so used to last year with them trailing late in games and losing. So a little bit of a positive there, but Eddie likes Colorado and follows Colorado pretty extensively. And, I mean, they had a lot of players out in this game. And I was really, really impressed with their forecheck and the way that they played, especially in the second and third period. I mean, I look at this team and they get, some of these guys back. They were dangerous in this game. And I know they haven't had a great start to the season because of their defense, losing several of their opening games. But I would not count out Colorado, especially when they get healthy, and I'm sure Eddie, you will attest to that because the way that they looked even in this game, that forecheck was very, very dominant in the second, third period.
Yeah, their issue early on to start, I know their defensive core has just been terrible too, but their goaltending has been atrocious, and everyone thought, and a lot of the fan pages that I follow with the Avalanche, I made comments about Georgiev not being a starter, not being an elite starter. I always said he was a glorified backup, and everyone was always jumping on me, even when they won the cup. Or I'm sorry, even when they had that great season, I mentioned it too. Like, he's not the goalie of the future. He's not going to bring success, and people are like, "Oh no, you don't know what you're talking about." Blah blah blah. Well, look at it. Look at the games. When the defense starts breaking down in front of him, he just can't stop a beach ball. And yeah, they have the injuries. They have Devon Taves, which is their top pairing defenseman. They still have Landeskog out. He's making a push. Niskanen still suspended for violating the alcohol substance abuse thing they have. Lekkonen's out, another top 6 forward, and Jonathan Drouin's out, top 6. So they're fairly hurt, starting the season 0-4. I thought the Ducks were going to beat them. The Ducks have always had good success against Colorado for some reason. They always have their number. But Colorado just went to town, and they're a desperate team because you're 0-4. Now you're playing arguably going to be the bottom of the standing teams again with the Ducks and San Jose. And you can see Jarrett Bednar on the bench, frustrated, red, his emotions showing. They started Georgiev again. Fans were pissed off. Georgiev gets booed when he gets announced as a starter when they played in Colorado. I think a game before that, too. So it was kind of a must-win for the Avalanche because if you go down 0-5 and your goalie's giving up, 4 or 5 goals again. So I guess they just really played like they wanted it more. I think the player of the game was Colton, though. His shots, just that one shot I want to say it was the third goal he scored. It was just a laser. It was beautiful. But I'm glad I saw Colorado stay in this game. Anaheim stay in this game. They didn't lay down. They were fighting, even though they were getting just destroyed. Our new best friend Dos Equis played a hell of a game, making some sick stops, especially that wraparound too. I screamed at the bar when I saw that save, and I really thought the Ducks were going to take this. And of course, hometown boy Terry scores to even it up, and I thought for sure it was going to be done. But the Avalanche squeaked by the Ducks, and guys got a win that they didn't really deserve. I think the Ducks really played well. Their goalie played well, and Colorado controlled it. But I still think the Ducks should have won this, and Colorado didn't deserve it. Ducks should have kind of snuck a win in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, despite the puck possession numbers being definitely in Colorado's favor, especially in the third and second period, bad mistakes, bad line changes is what hurt the Ducks in this one. That's how the Avs got 2 of their 3 goals in regulation. So, yeah, I mean, they didn't have the puck possession, but they had the chances to score and win in regulation. They didn't, but still things to be hopeful for with this team. I mean, the Ducks have been an exciting team to watch after the first game, I would say, but. They ended up dropping this one overtime. Still got a point. Terry doing Terry things. Carlson too as well. Those 2 guys we'll talk about a little bit later have been fantastic in the opening couple weeks of the season. The Ducks after this game, you and I then went to the game against the Kings in Anaheim, and we kind of had high hopes. Seeing what they had done with Utah, coming up short in Colorado. Coming back home to play the Kings, and then this game was kind of a slow one too. There was nothing going on in the first 2 periods, a couple power plays here and there, no scoring, and then unfortunately Lacombe had come in. He had been sick, didn't play the first 4 games. He comes in and plays in this game, makes 2 key mistakes where the Kings get 2 goals, especially the second one where he basically handed that one on a silver platter in the slot for the Kings to make it 2-0. Ducks do battle back, get a goal late in the third with about 2 minutes to go, but then some empty net goals kind of made the game, bigger than what it really was. I mean, the Ducks were really down 2-1, but ended up losing 4-1 in this one. A little frustrating, I guess. It was a little bit boring in the beginning, but pretty evenly matched against LA, a team that Eddie and I had talked about in the other show that we thought would not do as well this year. And they kind of showed it in this game. I think costly mistakes by Lacombe didn't help. You also had Frank Vatrano was out in this game. His wife recently just had a baby. And congratulations to them. I believe it's their second child, so super happy for him. But he was out. Obviously, the Ducks missed him in this game. But what did you think against LA? I felt like there wasn't as much animosity, which it kind of seems to have been like that lately, where the Ducks have kind of had more animosity, maybe with San Jose and Arizona / now Utah. I felt like it was a very vanilla game the first 2 periods, and then in the third is when things kind of heated up a little bit, but not too much. What were your thoughts, Eddie?
These referees, I don't know why, if they're getting told to stop it or they just want to go and grope the players as fast as possible. But I don't understand why, if grown men want to engage in a confrontation, a physical altercation, let them fight. Like, holy crap, Gudis got jumped on, pulled back real quick. If they want to go and get some energy in the building, go ahead. This was another game, too. It was just boring. And hockey's not the same anymore. It's turning in more like soccer and basketball, how it is. And I guess the NHL wants to be more like the NBA. So all we need is their players to start beating up their wives or go to jail more, and we'll be exactly like the NBA. But it wasn't any that spark, that fire. Even the crowd wasn't that engaged. You heard the King side yelling, the Ducks got fired up, but there's no energy. Like, get something going. I'm not saying go and stage fights, but sometimes you need it to get all the energy going. And with the refs jumping in and breaking it up, your captain wanted to go and fight. He wanted to bring energy to the team. He wanted to kind of lead by example. And no, he got cut off. And that's what I hate about hockey. That's what's really turning me off about this sport. And I don't know how much longer I can be a fan of the sport, how boring it is. It's just Ducks and Kings back in the day, or even 4 or 5 years ago, used to be dominant. Everyone's excited. They know it's gonna really be up there. There's gonna be fights. We had line brawls before. We had scoring. We had everyone crashing the net all the time. Scrums. No, this game was just real vanilla, real fast. I mean, the game was done in like less than 2 hours. I want to say, Mike. It was a really quick game. There wasn't that much stoppage. So it's just that was the frustrating thing, and then losing to them, it was like, man, they could have had it, and then costly mistakes, and then just kind of gave them the game. What I was more pissed off to about going to the Ducks game too, Mike, was that stupid 6% service charge on every drink and food item you get. I don't get that at all. And I asked one of the employees, the idiotic employee, goes, "Oh, it's a California insurance thing." Like, come on, if you're an organization, if you're putting that shit on the ice and we have to watch that crap and actually have to drink to an excess to actually feel good about being in the game and watching your team just get embarrassed like they did against the Kings, and at least you guys can cover the 6% service charge. But I don't know, it just speaks to their organization and the ownership of the Ducks if they have to go and charge you 6% on overpriced stuff already. So that's my kind of rant over about that 6% thing.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that. There were several other fans, some of the other Facebook groups that I'm in, talked about that too as well. They don't understand the 6% charge. So, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that either. I'm not really sure why they're doing it. I guess the good news is if you are a season ticket holder like myself, they upped the discount for us. So the discount now is $25 off beer, wine, and food, or I'm sorry, 25%, not bucks, but percent off. But then obviously with the 6% service charge, you're really getting 19% off. So I guess it's better because last year it was just 10%. So you're up 9% if you're a season ticket holder. But yes, for the casual fan or the person that is not a season ticket holder, there's this 6% charge. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to build up the OC vibe with it or something. I don't know. But that is frustrating for sure, especially when you're watching these games, and like getting a tall can of a Keurig is $20 now. At the Duck game, which is kind of crazy. So even with the season ticket holder discount, it's about $16, which is still a lot. So yeah, I try not to drink too much at the game. I try to either do stuff at home and Uber or go out to eat somewhere close by and walk to the game and do things like that, which I know is difficult because the other part of this is the parking thing. A lot of people are upset about the parking. I don't have an answer for that either. It's a mess. You can try to park by like Lazy Dog in the theater and walk over that way. You can go on the other side of the freeway and park like by Noble Ale and try and walk over that way. I know that they had issues too. I posted something on Instagram. I guess some of the security were giving people a hard time over there, but you can park over there and walk. Fortunately, that's the way it's going to be. The OC Vibe isn't going to be done until like 2028. It looks like that structure is going up pretty close across the street, so I'm hoping that gets done because that'll alleviate a lot of the problems, I think. But yeah, the beer prices and the parking and service charges are not very fan friendly, unfortunately, when going to the events. So some good and some bad with the Ducks so far this season in terms of off the ice stuff. But getting back to the product on the ice, the Ducks then played the Sharks one more time. They ended up winning this game. Also at home, finally getting some power play goals. They were 0 for 20 after a couple of the power plays starting in this game. They got 2. They got one from Terry and one from Carlson. They ended up winning this one 3-1, and the Ducks looked really, really good in this game, all over San Jose. A much better product on the ice, and it's kind of I don't know. I don't really know what to expect with this team this year so far, Eddie. I feel like they've had games that have been slow and boring, like the first game against San Jose and the other game against the Kings, and then I feel like I've seen really exciting games like the second game against San Jose and the first game against Utah, and even battling back and forth with Colorado. So, I mean, overall, I would say I'm happy with what I've seen. It's still inconsistent. I'm excited to see the team play because I think they are making steps and they're getting better in some areas and maybe not others, which we'll kind of dive into all that right now. But my first impression is I think they're taking a step in the right direction overall. But there's still some growing pains and some things they need to fix, especially the power play. Holy crap, the power play is disastrous, which we'll dive into in a little bit. But what did you think in the first 2 weeks of what you've seen so far? The Ducks have been 3-2-1. It's early. Do you like what you see, or are there things you don't like? Just kind of your overall thing, and then we'll kind of break it down. We'll talk about some of the team stats and individual stats and kind of how we see it from there.
I'm a little disappointed. To be honest, I love the last game against the Sharks. They totally dominated. But then again, you're playing an AHL kind of team. The Sharks are projected to be the last in the league again. So is Chicago, which we all know they're going to get the first overall pick this coming up draft. But I don't know. I'm so used to the Ducks starting off really well and giving us false hope and kind of having their goalies outplay, but they can actually squeak in some wins. It's been like that for the last few seasons, but this season's just been kind of an I don't know season. I know we're rebuilding again, and maybe by the time OC Vibe is finished, the Ducks will be in their final year of the rebuild, and they can start being a playoff contending team. But I can see the flashes of greatness, and I can see certain players stepping up, but then I see other players that seem like just digressing. And I'm not trying to call anyone out, but McTavish, he's playing hard out there, but he's not producing. Zegras, there's a few games I haven't even noticed him out there. Like, okay, is he out there? I've seen his net front presence here and there, and especially in the Sharks, he was out there trying to sniffing around. But I'm so used to guys like Getzlaf. Like, you're not going to sniff around and hope for a rebound. You're going to go and dig in and get that rebound and put it in the back of the net. And it just doesn't seem a sense of urgency with this team, our physicality. Like, they're really soft, and I think this is a really weak team. And I know people come to the season, every season, with the hopes they're going to make playoffs. But if this team made playoffs, they'd be worked over. They'd probably lose. They'd probably be eliminated from the playoffs the very first game they played. That's how soft they are. They need to like toughen up and be more physical on this. Like, everyone knows this team's not gonna go anywhere or be a playoff team, but these players need to play with some more pride. Like, act as if you're gonna make the playoffs. Act as if you're gonna be a Stanley Cup a champion. You have to act the part, play the part. You keep playing the part enough, it's gonna happen eventually. But the whole development and the small sample size we have hasn't been really well. Cutter has been another one. He was benched in that. The Utah game he was benched, but he came up with 2 apples in this last San Jose game, so that was good for him to see. And Mike, that one goal that Leo Carlsson scored off an assist from him, his second assist, what a wicked shot he has. Such a fast release. Once the floodgates open, he gets that monkey off his back in that first goal. I think good things are going to come. I still think that he could be in the running for the Calder trophy for the rookie. I'm sorry, the Calder award for the rookie of the year. He has such an amazing shot, and he's finding his groove. I don't like the fact, too, the Ducks put him on the first line right away. You're putting pretty much a rookie that's never played, only played in college, against these top players each and every night. Like, ease him into it. You had Vetrano, Strome, and Terry on the third line. That should be your first line. Move Cutter and some of the younger guys. Let him develop properly and ease him more. It seems like they just kind of forced him in, and no pun intended, but threw him into the Shark Tank, into the Sharks, and hoping he's producing it. It's not working out. So I'm glad that there's been some shuffling in the lines, but I think he needs to play a little bit on the third, get the second power play time. But just throwing him out there and expecting him to produce on the first line, and I think it's not fair to the player at all.
Yeah, the lines have been interesting. You talked about that too, because they had Gautier with Carlson and Killorn to start most of these games, which I didn't like. I didn't think that was great. That game against the Sharks, they switched it up. They put Gautier with Carlson and Fabry, which I do like that combination. I like those three together. Fabry has looked dangerous in some of these games. He's also scored as well. I like what I'm seeing with him. I like that line. But I'm with you, Eddie. That line should not be your number one line. I think you take Petrano, Strome, and Terry. You put them as the number one line. Terry is leading the team right now with 4 goals. Petrano, obviously, he's had some stuff taken care of the misses and the little one at home. So some of that he's missed a little bit of time and some of the practices and whatnot, but he'll get back on that horse again. I would like to see them up top. And then obviously move the Gautier, Carlson, and Fabry line down. They're definitely not the number one line on there. As far as Zegras, they threw him with Lundestrom and Killorn in that game against the Sharks. I don't know. That's okay, but they're focusing on Zegras in his two-way game, which it's gotten better in this, but you've got Lundestrom that's kind of more defensive. Killorn's a little bit slower. I don't know if I really like that line as much. I rather see actually Zegras and McTavish together on a line in there, and then maybe them two with Killorn, and then you have McGinn, Johnston, Lundestrom, and Leeson on that fourth line. That's kind of more what I would look like there, and then bump up that Zegras line too. Maybe Zegras, McTavish, and Killorn on second or third line. I don't know. You have to play around with that, but I would do a little shuffling there in that way. I'm with you too with Gautier putting him up there. I think that's a little bit much. Another issue too has been the power plays we've talked about. And in this last game, that first unit, they had Terry on there with Carlson, McTavish, Gautier, and Lacombe. And then, for me, that kind of the issue is Zegras is on the second one. I kind of would rather see Zegras on the first one with McTavish not doing as well. I don't know why McTavish is so much on the first power play unit. He hasn't shown me a lot, unfortunately. In that situation, that's something else I'd like to see change up in there. And the power play has been an issue. Special teams with the Ducks last season, they started out pretty good. This year, not so good. I mean, especially the power play. I mean, the power play has been a disaster. Let's just be honest. Until this last game against San Jose, I mean, they were 0 for I think 17 going to the game. They didn't score on the first 3, but then scored on the last 2 out of 3. They're still at 8.7%, which is just horrible. The only team that's worse is Buffalo, that hasn't scored, at least at the time of recording the show. They haven't scored. But the power play for the Ducks has been an issue. Getting in the zone, getting it set up, the perimeter stuff. It's kind of the same rinse and repeat from last year. So I think there's a little bit of tweaks that you can do with these forward lines, a little bit of tweaks that you can do on the power play as well to get them going, Eddie. But I do like what I'm seeing with Carlson. He's looked fantastic. Terry is on a roll. Gautier, yes, he got benched in Utah and had some issues, as you talked about, deservedly so. He came back stronger in this last game against San Jose. I think he can be even better. With a little less pressure, like you said. He's had some issues when he's pressured with the puck and making some mistakes. So there's some things there he can work on as well. But I think a few little tweaks, Eddie, and we can get this ship going a little bit better of what I've seen so far.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think this team's going to be bottom 5 in the league. I think maybe it's fair to say bottom 10. That'd be a huge improvement. Maybe I'm reaching a little bit with the team that we have in front of us, especially when it comes trade deadline time, and I know we're going to be sellers again. But I have more hope for this team than I did last season. Even though the start has been kind of rocky, I know this team, once they start getting their gears together, and we've seen the little flashes of greatness. Like with Cutter's situation too, why not send him down to the A for a few games? It's a slower pace. He can kind of develop and adjust his game a little more on things he wants to try differently. He has that little bit more time and space down in the A to do that. It's a lot more physical down there in the A too, because guys making a name for himself, so it kind of bumps him up, his physicality, which I did like seeing him throw his body around, finish his checks and stuff. I do like that out of him. That's good, but it's never a bad thing to send someone down to the A for a few games. Kind of a, hey, you should kind of what's that word I'm kind of looking for? Get your head back in the game. Maybe it's overwhelming for him, as it should be. He's still a young player. He came from a really condensed schedule playing in college. I know Montreal did that with the Nick Suzuki. They sent him down, and he was pissed off about that. But he came back up, and he's tearing it up. He had the great contract he has, and I believe he's the captain of that team too, if I'm not mistaken. But sometimes it needs a player to be sent down to kind of get them back to reality or kind of get their breath and kind of work on some little small things in their game. They can come back up and tear it up. I'm really impressed, Mike, with Carlson. Supposed to be, I think he's doing really well. He's really comfortable. It seems like every game you watch him, he's more and more comfortable. I think the Ducks did a really good job on this pick. I know it was a surprise to a lot of fans when they picked him and not Fantelli, but I think it was the right move, and I love seeing his game. I love seeing him develop right in front of our eyes. Another one, too, that caught my eye was Leeson. I know he doesn't get a lot of playing time, but every time he's on the ice, it's always a hustle from him. He's always like full speed ahead, 100%. Every minute he's on the ice, he's skating, he's doing something. I like that out of him. And then Lundestrom, too. We didn't talk about the Lundestrom play when Killorn scored the empty net goal. He made a nice defensive play. First, he won the face-off. He makes a nice defensive play to get the puck and strip it, and then Killorn goes and scores for the open net. So there's a lot more positive, too. I know we're sometimes critical, and we just want to speak the truth about it, but there's more positive, too, about this team. We see these flashes of greatness of these players, and hopefully they just start learning to click together and kind of just rise up and get past these growing pains and find their games and develop like the players that we know are supposed to develop as. And as far as Terry, too, Terry's freaking awesome. He's a badass mother effer. It just comes natural to him. He's a pure goal scorer. I love him. He needs to get more minutes. He should be on the top line. Maybe not the Vetrano, Strome, Terry, but Terry definitely should be up there. Shuffle him around with players. And, it seems like it comes so easy to him. It seems like he skates in there. He just does a couple moves. He shoots. Like, oh, this shot doesn't look like it's going to be anything. And boom, back of the net. Like, that surprising, sneaky wrist shot that he has. I love it. So we have a whole season to go, so it's going to be fun to watch this team develop. But I think we could both agree, too, the best player on the team has been the goalie. If there was any debate on if Doss is ready to take the number one spot, I think I think the answer from the small sample size, including last season's games he's played too, I think he's ready to take the rounds, and it might be time for Gibson to move on. And I'm going to hold on to my nickname too, Mike, even though I don't really drink Dos Equis beer, but Dos Equis sounds like a really good nickname for him.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I think if you're looking at the players that have really done well in these opening couple of weeks, you have to tip your hat off to Troy Terry. 4 goals in his last 5 games. Dostal has been fantastic. Getting that shutout in the opening game of the season, standing on his head in some of these games, especially that Colorado game as well. I mean, he's played lights out. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when Gibson comes back. They bring him back. They probably send Reimer down on waivers. And unless they trade Gibson, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, I'll hold off on that. But definitely those have been the 2 bright spots, Dostal and Terry for sure. Some of the other players, we had Shred37 asked about Gauthier going down to San Diego. You already talked about that. A couple other ones I look at as Lacombe and Luneau have been kind of shaky to me. Lacombe with those mistakes in the LA game, 2 huge mistakes. Even head coach Greg Cronin talked about those. Luneau has been a little bit shaky as well. Lacombe was sick and out most of these games, so I kind of give him a little bit of leeway, I guess, but I wouldn't be upset if he went down for a little bit. Luneau is another one too that maybe goes down and gets some more experience. I don't know. They're both a little shaky to me right now, so if there's a couple other guys that I would send down, I would do that as well. And then McTavish. McTavish, unfortunately, has not looked as dominant as I thought he would to start the season. That's why I would bump him down in the lineup. I know you talked about Terry going up, being on the top line for sure. I think McTavish is now a bottom 6 role, unfortunately, in what we've seen so far. Doesn't mean that he can't get back up into a top 6 role, but just kind of what I've seen thus far is where we're at. But it's still a filling out process, and I'm pretty hopeful. I like what I've seen with this team. I like that they're they're not as physical as you talked about, Eddie, but there has been some fight in there. They have had some momentum in some of these games. Utah back and forth. The second game against San Jose, they could have beat Colorado. So there are glimmers of hope in this team. It's just really, I think, finding the right line combinations and then developing that consistency, Eddie.
Oh, definitely. I can't agree with you more. And I know that Lacomb's still young, and defensemen, they develop a lot slower than forwards do. So we can all put the blame on him, and everyone can say it's his fault, but he's still learning, and I'm pretty sure he kicks himself in the ass every night, and it bothers him a lot because I'm sure he knows his mistakes. I like the fact too that he's another one that finishes checks. He gets in the mix. You know what too? What we didn't talk about or haven't talked about was Zally. Him being a more offensive-minded defenseman or offensive defenseman, and him being on the smaller side, he gets in the mix too. He's over there throwing his mitts around in people's faces. He's jumping in when the scrums happen. I'm like, whoa. He has that angry look on his face, like he's pissed off, and he looks like he wears nice chapstick. His lips are always nice, bright red. But yeah, he has a little bit of some rage in his eyes. I like seeing that. I wouldn't be surprised if I see him just drop the gloves and scrap the season, just about the few games I did see him in. But yeah, he's been well too, and he's having some growing pains, and that's understandable for a young defenseman. And like I said, they develop a lot slower, but I think he's fine. I think our defensive core hasn't been that bad. I think they've been doing fine. I think Gudis too, especially with McTavish having the growing pains that he has. I know people were mentioning about McTavish being captain, Zegras. I'm glad they gave it to Gudis. I think he takes charge. He can take charge of a locker room and kind of lead by example. So I'm glad they made the right thing. And especially where I talked about sending Cutter down. I know Shredden, the 37, asked that too, if he should be sent down to San Diego. But I think we did answer that already. I'd say why not give him a few games down there, let him just kind of develop. Like I said, I don't know if you think that would be the right approach, Mike, or would you want him to go down a bottom six role with the Ducks and develop that way?
I think as of right now, probably a bottom six role would work. I think before the San Jose game, I would have the second one. I would have agreed. I think he should have gone down to the HL, but that last game kind of gave me a little bit of glimmer of hope that maybe he is good to go. But I'm with you. I don't think he's ready for a top six role. It seems like he gets pressure on the puck and makes mistakes. So I wouldn't be opposed to him going to the HL, but I definitely think at a minimum he should be bottom six right now. It's not quite seeing what I'm seeing. And then on the power play, too, he's getting a lot more looks on there. Maybe scale that back a little bit. So that's kind of where I feel with that. But we got a lot of other stuff to cover, too. Some stuff, you guys got a lot of questions about the coaches and the goalie situation that we'll dive into, too. But before I do that, I do want to talk about another sponsor that we have. We're also part of the Hockey Podcast Network. And we have Game Time is a sponsor of this podcast. If you're looking for tickets to games, I would check them out. Download the app. I highly recommend it. The Ducks are going to be back home in the beginning of November playing Chicago. They have some great deals on there. You can get some tickets where we sit in the 400s, for around $20-$30 or so. So I check them out. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it, Eddie? It's game time, baby. And I know you've used the app. What did you think about this Game Time app, Eddie?
Horrible. They made me spend money more than I wanted to. No, you know what? I bought my tickets through Game Time when I flew to Florida to watch the Ducks take on Tampa Bay. And I want to say 5 rows from the glass where the Ducks shoot twice. And it was like under $250 or something like that. And I got a hell of a deal. I know I got a hell of a deal. And just kind of to reiterate too what I've said, I know I talked about this on the show before, but their fans they're really nice out there. The people were cool. Got a free drink. I told them I was just visiting. I did run into our favorite Ducks DJ out there. I always run into him everywhere. So it was kind of cool seeing him. We were at intermission having some drinks together, talking. But I also used the Game Time app for the draft too, so that was kind of cool. I went solo to the draft. It was fun. I got a hell of a deal on a ticket. So I mean, I would suggest I don't care if they're a sponsor or not. I would refer them. I do that to my friends who will want tickets. I recently bought tickets to another game too and used them. So I mean, I would suggest it. Try it out. I mean, just do your due diligence, shop around. You want to find the best prices possible for tickets, unless you win the lottery, you want to spend the over amount. But yeah, I would definitely use Game Time. And speaking of games, Mike, I actually bought tickets since I live so close to the Reign. I'm going to watch the Reign on the Day of the Dead night on November 9th when they take on the Dallas AHL team. And I'm going to watch them on November 2nd when they take on the Vegas Golden Knights. And I guess it's they call it a teddy bear toss thing. I guess when the home team scores, you're throwing teddy bears for charity, and I always seen videos of it. I never experienced it, so I'm gonna go ahead and I got tickets for that. So that's gonna be fun to watch, and I'll send you a lot of videos. I'm probably gonna have to cheer for. I don't know if I want to cheer for the Reign though. Damn it, but I might cheer for the home team, especially November 2nd when they're doing the charity teddy bear toss. So hopefully you guys forgive me for that.
I did go to one of those teddy bear toss games for the goals a couple of years back, and it's super fun. It's very cool, so you have a good time.
So you could bring your own teddy bear?
Cause. Yes, you bring it, and then I think the rules, it depends on it. I don't know if it changed for everybody else, but at least for the goals, it was when they scored the first goal, you just chuck the teddy bear on the ice, and then they just pile up the ice with teddy bears. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, well, I have some pretty close seats, and I'm going to check the rules, though, because what I was thinking I wanted to do is bring a kind of a bigger teddy bear and put a Duck shirt on it. All right, hey, you know what? Put one of the Ducks and Pucks shirts on it. That'd be kind of cool, too. Toss that out. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. And you know what? I've been one of the people, too, that's never thrown a hat on the ice for a hat trick. I was there. I think that the last hat trick that I saw live was with you, Mike, when Delorier scored the hat trick the day before they canceled the season for the COVID stuff. And I kick myself in the ass for not having a hat. So I need to be at a game, a hat trick gets scored. I bring a hat or wear a hat to games more now just to throw it, just because I want to. So fingers crossed, Mike, this season we go to a game, get a hat trick, I can throw it, and I'll be happy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Couple other things here about the Ducks, and then we'll kind of wrap up with league news. But after the the Kings game, people kind of blew up on social media. I know this was an issue. We actually addressed this issue on the last show. We talked about Cronin, the interview with Labushkin. You can go back and listen to that show. We dived into it a lot. I'm not really going to dive into all that anymore on this show, but a lot of you had fan questions about this, and a lot of you were upset, especially after losing to the Kings, which I totally get. But you had, hey, it's Chris. Do you think the players want to play for Cronin? Seems like a lack of effort for every game. Annie Couture says, is Cronin the right coach for the Ducks? And then we had Sarah Elizabeth that talks about Cronin possibly being gone in the middle of the season if the team repeats it last year. And she alludes to Verbeek wanting to be a wild card contending type team. So these questions came up. It would just entertain it now because a lot of you threw them out on here and were upset. I still think it's too early to tell. It's been one season. Now you have a second season. Also, go on Duck Stream. Cronin gave an interview on there. So, to me, do I think he's the right coach for the Ducks? Right now, I would say yes. Long term, I would say no. And that's kind of where I'm at. I know you're probably like, what? That's like a split kind of comment. Well, yeah, I think right now the Ducks are transitioning. They're trying to get better. They're trying to be a contending team and do all this stuff. And I think that Cronin can kind of help them through that process. But is he the guy that's going to get this team to be a competitor in a Stanley Cup team? I don't know that it's going to really work out. I just don't know if that's in the cards for the team while he is the coach. I feel like there's a few ways to improve teams, right? You can spend money on big name players and try and get them. The Ducks tried that. It didn't work out. You can spend big money on coaches too. And the Ducks kind of haven't done that. They don't really get, we brought up Dallas Aikens from the AHL. We recycled Randy Carlisle. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the coaching strategy is kind of, long term has been an issue. So that's kind of where I stand on it, Eddie. I think he's okay for now, but down the road, I just don't see him the guy leading us to a Stanley Cup final.
No, same here. I don't know what Verbeek is thinking, and maybe if in his mind, with the product that he has in the ice, and he thinks his team that has a wild card chance, maybe he's not the right GM for this job either. Because if you see what the Ducks have right now and the roster they have, there's no way in hell they would even they wouldn't even make it out of the parking lot in the first round of the playoffs of the team they have on paper right now. It's not going to happen. So I don't know what needs to happen with management and what they need to do. And unfortunately, they went out and they tried to spend money on these big name players. But look at Marchessault and look at Stamkos. It's not really working out for them. Marchessault started off slow. He does have 5 points in 6 games, I believe now. Stamkos barely got his first goal. Nashville got their first win. So it's not looking good over there for them. But, I mean, do you want to do what Nashville's doing? They're kind of making a mistake that New Jersey did. They went and spent a bunch of money on these big-time players, and it backfired on them. This team's just not ready to compete. And it's really frustrating because we had to hear the lies from our former GM, Bob Murray, about all his crap that he lied about, and now Verbeek. It seems like this rebuilds every single year, and nothing's ever kind of like going up. You're just kind of taking small steps forward and 2 steps back at times. That's what gets really frustrating. I do agree. I don't think Cronin's going to be the person that's going to bring us to a cup. I think the Ducks have a lot more work to do. And at this point, Mike, like, what else is there to do? They brought in a new GM, but they were forced to bring in a new GM. Let's rewind back. The Samuelis were forced to bring in a new GM because Bob Murray had some issues with alcohol and substance abuse, and he was abusing employees. If it wasn't for that, I really think he'd still be a Ducks GM right now, making all the same claims he did. Maybe it's time for an ownership change. I don't know. This team needs to get back to winning ways. We were so dominant. We had all those years of winning the Pacific, have been always a threat, have been potential Stanley Cup champions. We're kind of like Buffalo right now. Like, holy crap, we're just going to keep losing and doing this. It's just getting really frustrating. Good questions, by the way. Really good questions. So hopefully they figure it out. Hopefully the system starts working. And too, Mike, you know what? With the stupid advertisement, the Visit Anaheim crap, too, that irritated me. The problem is a lot of players don't want to come and play in California. The political climate, the increased crime, not to mention the excessive state tax. Why would you play for your team? You're going to have most of your money. Well, I think they'll probably take, 23% of my check goes to state taxes. Like, and I'm a disabled veteran, so they're making tons more money than I am. So I'm sure they're taxed a lot more. Why would you want to come to a state that's going to just rob you on money? If you sign a low deal, it doesn't make sense to me. So it's going to be hard for the Ducks or even the Kings too this past offseason to attract those higher end free agent players. So they have to really rely on their whole development. But yeah, so I'm ranting on again. So I'll just kind of end it here. Is I agree with you, Mike. Cronin's not the coach of the future to bring us a cup, but I'm even thinking Verbeek might not be the guy that's going to be there to bring us a cup as well.
It's funny you touch on some of these things because one of my coworkers I was talking to about this, and he kind of lit me up about some of the stuff because I'm usually more positive on the team. But some of the things that you talked about too is you saw the Ducks try to go after Stamkos and Marchessault, and where did they go? They go to Nashville. Well, what's Tennessee? That's a state with no income tax. Look at Nevada. That's another state with no income tax. Dallas, Florida. You have several of these states where there's professional NHL teams. So that is part of a consideration to go to these other states. You want to be on a contending team and a team that's going to win. Yes, that's a factor, but then you go to a team with no state income tax. So that's definitely something to look at. And then besides him and a few other people I've talked to, they're like, hey, that's great. The Ducks have done new special effects. They've got new jerseys. That's cool, but are we going to win? And also they've kind of said, okay, OC Vibe, that's great. So we're going to copy the LA Kings and LA Live. Okay, that's awesome, but we need a winning product on the ice So that's something that some of the criticisms that this isn't me talking. This is a couple of my close friends have told me this when I talk about the Ducks, and I can't really I can't really say that they're wrong for some of these things. So it does make sense when they're talking about that. The Ducks have been trying. I think Verbeek, I think he could get the Ducks there, but it's very difficult because, like you talked about, Eddie, the state of the world in California isn't the greatest, unfortunately. I know a lot of people that have left the state. I've got coworkers that have retired, left the state. I've got family that have left the state. So that is definitely part of it that doesn't help. And then you don't have a professional NHL coach. You have a minor league coach that's in there, and I like Cronin. I think he's really good. Nothing against him, but long term, I don't see an answer there. So that's part of the issue. I think with this team is it's a combination of things in there, but where they're at now, at least they are competitive. They are exciting on the ice. But will they be that contending team that we saw in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18? I don't know. I don't know if we get back to that. I would hope so, but it's going to take a lot of work to get there. I think they've done some stuff that's improved, but it seems like the route that the Ducks are taking to go there is they've got a lot of young talent, and they're trying to develop that young talent into superstars or big-time players on this team, which can work, it can happen, but it's a much slower developing process, as we've learned, because since 2019, we haven't seen a lot with this team, and it's been 5 years, so it's a little rough going. So the other part of that too is, do you make some trades and try and figure some stuff out? Recently, there was a lot of rumors about Gibson being traded to Colorado, which I kind of laughed because we talked about that on the last show. You brought that up, actually, about Gibson being traded to Colorado, if the Ducks were going to do that. We also had Chris J. Campos ask about trading McTavish because he's had a slow start, and should the Ducks consider moving him? So you've gone out and tried to get these big-name players. That hasn't worked. The next option would be trying to make a trade. And I'm very curious to see, Gibson coming back. He has been practicing. You talked about Dostal. I think he's number one. I think he can lead this team in net. If you feel that that's the case, he is the guy. Are you comfortable enough with Ramir being the backup? And if that's a yes too, then maybe you do start looking to trade Gibson and get somebody else in there to start fixing some stuff. I mean, that's what I'm really curious to see. We heard all those rumors about Fowler. He's still on the team, at least for now. They've kind of quieted down from the stuff that Elliot Freeman talked about. But the only other option I see right now for the Ducks, if you really want to improve and be a contending team, is you got to make some moves, Eddie. But what do you think? I mean, people are talking about Gorgiev and sending him over here, which I don't necessarily agree with that. But I would think you would have to explore some kind of trade right now, especially with Gibson.
Yeah, I think it's not that Gibson is horrible and he's a problem for the team, but we have an emerging young goaltender that's really taken off, and he's the goalie of the future. If you look in the future and see the Ducks winning a Stanley Cup, is it going to be Gibson lifting it or Dostal? I mean, come on, like how he's playing already, how he's developed. Do you really want to bring Gibson in and kind of put Gibson over him because he has more seniority? He's the veteran, and now Dostal is kind of the backup. It's gonna piss him off. Like, who knows? He might not want to sign here. He might request a trade, which has been a lot of popularity going on with not goalies, but players in general. Just if they don't want to be there, they request a trade, and once they do that, it's like, okay, well, you can't just keep someone that doesn't want to be there. It just doesn't make sense at all. I think it's time to go. And yeah, I mentioned this numerous times before it got all popular, that I think it'd be a good fit for Gibson and Colorado. I mean, the Ducks would have to go and eat up some salary. Gibson will be 2 more years after this season, so that would have to do some work. Colorado doesn't have a first-round pick. They're going to have to add some assets, so I don't know how they can make it work, but we've seen in the recent times that these 3-way trades can actually benefit numerous teams, so I can see something like that going on. But Gibson's going to come off from an appendix surgery. I think he'll come back to his ways. He's a really talented goalie. He just hasn't had a really good team in front of him. When he was still coming up in his development, he did have a really good team in front of him, but there was this moves that were made by a coaching staff to put him in high stress situation games when he wasn't really ready. But now that he's older, he's that veteran goalie. I think when he has a decent team, especially a defensive core like Colorado has in front of him, I think he can take them and be that elite goalie that they're looking for. I mean, obviously we had to take Georgiev back, and he'd be a backup to Dostal just to kind of alleviate their cap spaces. They're going to be in cap hell. I think they're under the cap and everyone's back by $2 million, almost $3 million, so they're going to have to make some room for that. So it'd be a lot of working pieces, but I think it'd be a good fit. I know the Avalanche. I follow them as well, and I know what kind of goalie they would need. And right now they're desperate. They have Juice Anuiman. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but he's been doing well the last 2 games. But he played against the Sharks, wasn't really like that much of a game. But then he beat Seattle. I think he's a good goalie, but I don't think he's the goalie that they need. That's that kind of elite goalie. I think Gibson still has that kind of tenacity to be that elite goalie. And once he gets traded as a change of scenery, I think that kind of love for the game will reignite, and having the playoffs will kind of get Colorado there when they're all healthy and have all their pieces together. It's an option that Colorado should be exploring. I know McFarland and Sakic are over there doing what they can to try to make this team better like they always do. And I mean, I would be happy if I saw Gibson go to Colorado. Just the whole logistics of it is going to be kind of a nightmare. Colorado's in, but if the Ducks can eat up salary, which they can eat up salary, they have the salary cap to do that. Why not do that? You're not making the playoffs this season, especially come trade deadline, Mike. When these teams need cap relief, the Ducks just swoop in there, get some draft picks, get some prospect players, get something in return, like do something and kind of build off that. Like look what Arizona has done now. Now Utah. Mike, they were always taking people's players. They were taking injury, players that were injured, never going to play again, like Pronger. I forgot the other, not Zetterberg. There was another Detroit player they took. They had like an all-star team of injured players that were never going to play again, but they just used that for their cap relief. And they got compensated for that. And Utah looks good. And then we have to stop and think, too, Mike. The Ducks have the 6th youngest team in the league. You have Buffalo, you have Columbus that are younger. The only one that's topping the charts right now that's, I'm going to say, below younger than the Ducks is Utah right now, and they're actually doing fairly well, surprisingly. But then again, they're still having young kids, and they're still developing, and when it comes to that playoff time, I don't think those kids are going to perform. I hope they do, Mike. I wouldn't mind seeing Utah come over, sweep the league, and especially with a relocation like the Avalanche did back in, 2001, I believe, when they won their Stanley Cup, so I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, we have to kind of like really think about how young they are too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are very young. That's definitely a factor in there too. And then looking at that goalie situation and trying to figure that out, it's going to be interesting to see what the Ducks do. Like you talked about, 3-way trades or taking on contracts as well. Something that's a tactic that the Ducks might have to look into. We'll close up a little bit of goals news and then some league news. But before I do that, I did want to mention too that we are sponsored also by DraftKings as well. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The Bucks dropping on the 24-25 season, getting all the action on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
All right, with that, like I said, DraftKings, another sponsor for us. THPN, Eddie.
Betting. Okay, Mike. So Ducks go on a road trip. New York, New Jersey, Islanders, Pittsburgh. Cutter, What would you put your money on? Which game he scores his first goal on the next road trip that comes? What would you bet? Yeah, if you're putting your money on his first goal, which team would it be against?
That's a good. You're saying on this road trip coming up, if he's gonna score, huh? Who would it be?
It's when he's. I think he's gonna score on this road trip.
I say against Pittsburgh. I'm going with Pittsburgh.
Fuck.
No, on October 31st. Why? You were gonna say that?
Yeah.
Okay, we're both going with Pittsburgh then, October 31st.
Yeah, so you know what, Pittsburgh? So maybe the Philadelphia Flyers won't hate him as much if he scores against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, could you imagine if it's against the Flyers? Holy crap, Eddie.
I would probably call Jesse.
They're going to have an epic meltdown.
I would call Jesse and just have him just record that at the game. Like, I feel bad for Ducks fans there.
He would just talk mad shit. He would be so mad. Jesse would be so mad. Okay, so let's wrap this up a little. Well, kind of getting towards the end here. So we did talk a little bit about the goals and some players going down there. What did you think just about the captains and the assistant? Alternate captains. What did you think? I'll let you just kind of talk about them real quick. You know, because if Cutter ends up going down there or Luneau or whatnot, I'll let you just kind of go over that real quick, and then we'll dive into the league.
Yeah, it's really funny that Ryan Carpenter, Roland McEwen, and Dylan Hetherington. I probably butchered the name. I apologize, but it's funny because they all signed contracts with the goals this summer, so they're just brand new, fresh faces, and they do the whole leadership roles. They're no strangers to playing in the NHL. Carpenter had a long career in the NHL, played a few AHL games too. He played lastly with the San Jose Sharks, had 12 points in 62 games. McEwen, his last thing with the Preds AHL, he had 69 points in 59 games. Another defenseman, Carpenter was a center. He played 6 games too with Nashville, didn't score any points. And then you have Hetherington. That's like actually a fun name. I don't learn how to say it better. But he played 23 NHL games. He played 41 KHL games over there. And then he played last season with Ottawa's AHL team. He had 31 points in 60 games. He had a few games with Ottawa too as well, but he didn't really produce much. But I think they're bringing in some kind of veteran guys to kind of shape the team and kind of hold accountability. These players have all been around the block, KHL, AHL, up and down. So they know how it is and what these teams are looking for call-ups. So I think it's a great move by the Goals to name some senior guys as leadership, especially if they're new. It doesn't matter if you're signed day one. If you can come in training camp, you can present yourself as a leader, then you should be rewarded. And I think that they have a good leadership core, and they're going to help develop these young guys and make them better players from number one, their experiences, and number two, their mistakes.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I'm curious because we talked about Cronin, right? Something happens. What about McIlvain down there? So just kind of something to keep an eye on, down the road or whatnot. Not saying that there's anything going on, but just just keep your eye on what's going on down there. You never know what may happen as the season develops. And speaking of that, talking about the NHL, there's kind of been some surprises early on here, Eddie. You talked about Colorado earlier. They had their slow start. They obviously had a lot of injuries and things like that. So there's been some surprises. Edmonton kind of had a slow start as well. Going into this, any other things, like just in general, we're just talking about the league that surprised you or something that you thought that kind of caught your eye in the first couple weeks of the NHL?
Colorado and Nashville. I did not think they're going to start off that low. It was just a big shit show. They're panicking, especially in Nashville. Nashville, I don't know. I think there's too many new players to add at once, so it's kind of screwing up their system. I don't know if Stamkos has the pressure of trying to perform to kind of like show Tampa Bay what they lost, and it's unfortunate for him because he's a fantastic player. Those are like the biggest surprises for me. Calgary coming up and starting off as strong as they did. That was a surprise too. And then Winnipeg. Winnipeg's been just lights out solid. They've been nuts on what they're doing. I'm glad I have on one of my fantasy teams, I have Kyle Connor. He's been tearing it up. But yeah, they've been just going crazy. They're looking like they got blown out last playoffs, and they people were talking about they were pretenders, but I think they learned from their mistakes. And if Canada can ever win another cup, I think Winnipeg, of the small sample size I've seen and watch a couple of their games, if they keep this up and maybe add a few more pieces, I think they're a legit contender to win the cup this season.
Nice. The other part I thought was interesting, the stat that you pulled, is that the NHL had a 39% decline in viewership opening night compared to last season. I thought that was kind of interesting. I wonder what's kind of going on. I mean, you've got Utah in the mix. You had all that stuff that happened with Johnny Hockey. Obviously, you had Columbus, starting off that game with the 13 seconds without left wing. Nice tribute there. You had the Panthers doing the tribute as well, wearing 13 in their jerseys. I think that's kind of weird to me. This 39% decline in viewership. Like, what do you think it is? I mean, they're talking about baseball and NWA and all that stuff doing better. I don't know. Is there something going on here? I was just kind of surprised by this stat.
Yeah, I think baseball, that's America's sport. Everyone loves baseball, so I'm not surprised with that. But WNBA, I'm surprised. I think it's overrated. It's boring. I think it's overhyped, in my opinion. I'm not a big basketball fan, so maybe that's kind of my thing, and I can barely watch just the regular NBA. But WNBA, I watch a few games. It's boring as hell, and just always about I, me. But yeah, I think the main thing about it, Mike, is this whole hockey is for everyone. It's not for everyone, because if you don't have certain streaming services, if you don't have certain cable connections, if you're in an area that's blacked out, you're making it hard for your fans to watch these games, and it's just ridiculous. I had to go and stream illegal games just to watch other teams play. It's not always the best quality. Sometimes I can't get it. Victory Plus, so far, the small samples that I've seen from them, it's been great. It's not on Samsung TV yet, but I dug up my Roku thing, and it was perfect to go ahead and watch a game and stream it without any problems. But I think the NHL is kind of doing this to themselves, and they're making it so harder. Like, out of the top 5 whatever sports, you're the lowest one, and it's just it's not just the NHL. I know a lot of Dodger fans. Like, my supervisor's a Dodger fan, and she has to have Apple TV and some other thing to watch it. It's just, if you want to promote your product like the NHL, and you want to really go and try to compete with the MLB, the NBA, the NFL, you have to make it more accessible to people. You have to make it more accessible to people that can't afford the 10,000 streaming things you have. Like, just make it easier. Victory Plus is great. I tell people about Victory Plus too, because I go to bars and I'll watch the games, or I'll talk about hockey. I'm like, hey, download this app. You can watch it for free. I think that's a good thing. Now, Mike, I've been predicting things a long time, and I wrote a college article about streaming services. Victory Plus is good right now, but I guarantee, I'll bet money on it, that maybe next season, the season following, or if the Ducks get more competitive, it's not going to be free anymore. They're going to charge like everything else is charging. So that's really unfortunate. I think the NHL makes so much money, they can afford to kind of make it more accessible for fans and non-fans to watch. I think that has the biggest determining factor of why they have a 39% decline in viewership for opening night. And that's freaking horrible, Mike. That's terrible. But you mentioned, too, Columbus Blue Jackets. That was an emotional night, and I loved how they kind of honored him. It was kind of teary moment, too. They dropped the puck, an official puck drop. They let 13 seconds, both teams. They left the left wing open, and the jersey, the banner, how Florida went with all their jerseys wearing his number. Johnny Hockey, he loved his Gatorade, purple Gatorade and Skittles. They all walked out of the bus. Kachuk was injured, so he couldn't make that game. But he did go out and throw a video out there, and that was one of the most amazing things in solidarity in hockey I've seen, and that makes me love this sport more, that everyone can come together. There wasn't anyone talking crap. It wasn't, us against them. It was just an emotional night, and his wife coming on the Jumbotron and the video saying that, hey, well, I want you fans to enjoy. I want your team to enjoy. Like, enjoy the game that he loved, and it was just so sweet. And seeing his kid too look at the banner, it's just, man, my eyes got a little watery watching that, and it was just an emotional night, but it was a great tribute to them. So that was, I think, the most positive thing, and I wish that hockey had more accessibility so everyone can see that, not just clips of it after the fact. They should see that live, and I think it would have been a great thing to do for the National Hockey League. But I don't know, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot sometimes with how they don't want to even try to work with these subscribers, or I don't know whose fault it is, but I'm assuming the NHL is fault, because they've been having issues with this for many years of not having their games accessible to fans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Yeah, like you said, that was a super emotional night. It was very cool to see the stuff that they did, especially like you saw the stuff at the arenas and all the memorials and things like that they left. But you're right, the streaming services and dividing things up, it's unfortunate because you want to see these kind of things. And I do like Victory Plus too, like you talked about, Eddie, but I have a Samsung TV and I can't get it on there. So I do watch KCOP, which is fine. If it's, not on that I can pull it up on my laptop, thankfully. But you want to grow the sport. You've seen the viewership go down in the beginning. You got to make it more accessible to the fans. You've got to do that. And I do agree with you too. I think Victory Plus next season, it may not be completely free. I mean, that's just kind of how the nature of the beast works. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to have stuff that either you don't pay some kind of fee to get it, or it's it's on a certain cable network or satellite or whatever. Unfortunately, it's always part of something that you end up paying. Unfortunately, but they got to work that stuff out. I mean, especially things like that when you have such a unfortunate thing happen, basically, and you want to get that maximum coverage and exposure and whatnot. So I hope that's something that they work out. Part of that in the mix too is now been Amazon Prime. Some of you know they're carrying some of the football games on Thursday Night Football, but they also had the Face-Off show. I thought this was kind of interesting, Eddie. We did talk about this when Edmonton lost the Stanley Cup, and we had McDavid getting named, the player of the playoffs, and we had the same thing with Jaguar. And Jaguar weighed in recently. I thought it was interesting. We had some more insight and stuff like that. Is other stuff too I'd like to see, but I'd like to see it more out there because I guess maybe a lot of people do have Amazon Prime. I do, so I'm able to watch that. I'm able to watch Thursday Night Football, but some of you don't have that because unfortunately you're trying to pay for this service and that service, and I always laugh because I feel like people don't want to do DirecTV, Dish, Spectrum, all these other companies or whatever, but you're like, I don't want to pay $100, $200 a month, but then you end up paying $10 here and $8 for Hulu and all these other things, and it feels like you end up paying more for all these other smaller companies to get, it's just frustrating. But I did like the insight on this, and I thought, we did talk about this situation with them losing the Stanley Cup, but then having the MVP on the losing team and how to react and everything. And I'm still of the opinion, I still lean towards Jaguar. I would have skated out there. I would have accepted the award. Tears and all, pissed off, whatever. I would have done it, gone out there, taken the photo with Bettman or whatever for the 30 seconds to a minute, and I would have gone back in. I still stand by that. We did talk about that on one of the last shows last season. And it made me kind of dislike McDavid and some of the stuff that I saw on Amazon Prime on this Face-Off show. I like the passion, but I don't know. I didn't like the way it was expressed. I mean, everybody's different. I get it. Especially when you go to a Stanley Cup, you lose Game 7. Of course you're going to be pissed off. Of course you're going to be upset. But these kind of moments, it goes back to what you're talking about, Eddie, is if you don't have it out there on all these services, only a handful of people are going to be able to see it. And whether you agree or not with the way McDavid handled it, you're limiting the viewership into these things. It just feels like it needs to be spread out more. It needs to be pushed out there. Get people seeing it. Put it on NBC. Put it on ABC. Put it on ESPN. Whatever it is that's out there the most, and get people drawn into the game. Get people talking about it. You don't like the way he reacted? Cool. If you do like it, then fine. I feel like making all these smaller groups and people going there. I don't know. I just feel like it kind of fractions your viewership. I don't know how else to explain it. That's just kind of my take on that.
No, I agree. I don't know why the NHL does this, and I always say if it makes money, it makes sense. I get that. Like, business comes first before everything, but you're trying to grow your game and reach audiences to a whole new level, but you're just kind of restricting them. And that's a complaint. You can go on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if TikTok has like a group thing or you can chat. I don't know. I don't have TikTok, but it's the same complaint. Fans can't watch games. Ducks fans, for a while, me included last season before Victory Plus, I couldn't watch the games. Bally Sports streaming app was horrible. Charged me like 3 times for thing. It was like I had to threaten to blast them on social media for me to get my money back on the free trial when they triple charge me or whatever. It's insane. The Amazon Prime thing, and that's expensive too, Mike. It's like $159 per year. Like, I mean, I use it a lot, so it's worth it for me. But it's like, I grew up poor. I grew up with like my mom. Like, she can barely like afford things. Like, I couldn't get like new clothes or anything. I had to buy like my shoes at Payless once a year. Like, how are those single family homes gonna be able to afford $159 a month to watch Amazon or having this streaming thing and this streaming thing? No, you should make it more accessible, especially to people that don't have it. Like I said, I was poor, and if I didn't have hockey in my life, I don't know how my life would have turned out. I wouldn't have met the great people I had in my life. I probably wouldn't have been friends with you. I probably would have been getting in some trouble elsewhere. But once I fell in love with hockey, all I wanted to do was play. And luckily, I had a lot of friends that their parents would help me play and take me to games or pay for my league fees. And so, really grateful for that. But the Amazon Prime Face-Off show, I think it's like Face-Off, I forgot what it's called, but they did a good job. McDavid, him screaming in the locker room, it makes it seem just, you know what? They probably shouldn't have shown that. That should have been just between him and the team. But I don't respect him for not coming out. I know it sucks, and I've been in a tournament before. Just my little fucking random, my F word for the show. I played some tournaments and times where I was a leader of a team and I lost. I didn't want to show up, and I remember one time I tried to skate off the ice when I played on ice, and one of my buddies grabbed me. He's like, "Dude, no, you're not gonna do this. You're gonna." He goes, "We win as a team, we lose as a team. Get your ass out there, accept the second place medals." And that really stuck in my head. Jiggy's comments, it wasn't directed toward McDavid during the show, but he stated before that the reason why he came out was because he respected the game, and it wasn't about him, it was about the game. I think McDavid, and he mentioned on the show too that he wouldn't have went out there for $1 million. Like, well, it's not about you. It's about the fans. It's about the people that paid a bunch of money to go and watch your team, that supports your team, that pays your salary. Go out there, respect the game. Go out and cry. Jiggy cried. Everyone saw him in tears. I have a picture, sign him accepting that trophy in tears. That's the nature of the game. Go out there and just be that leader. So, like, him doing that, in my opinion, I don't think that seat should be on him. Like, it wasn't right. I think he was just being a baby back bitch about that, and he's disrespected the game. Especially someone like him that's a big ambassador of the game, too. Like, I don't know. That's my take. I know we talked about this, too, last season, but, I mean, it's good to reiterate that, especially with the show going on, and especially if people are younger, too, that are playing hockey, or if you have kids that are playing hockey, just really instill that in their mind, like, what I said, like, you win as a team, you lose as a team, but you respect the game. You go out there in the playoffs and games, you shake hands, you go and accept the award and take the picture with that Batman or whatever, and that's it. And you be there and skate off. It's going to take you no more than, 1-2 minutes, and you go and regroup, get your composure, and you figure out what you're going to do next season to try to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I look at it. I mean, everybody deals with it differently, and I get that, and I get what you said too. Maybe that's something in the locker room you don't show, and whatnot. Certain moments and stuff, whatnot, like that as well. But again, it just goes back to the thing. You want to grow this game, and you're trying to limit this stuff. You're trying to be like, oh, we're on Hulu, we're on Victory Plus, we're on Amazon Prime, we're on this, and that. They should figure out something to make it more accessible to everybody else. Because, yeah, we are behind baseball. We are behind the NBA. We are behind the NFL. Soccer, soccer's like, I still think number one worldwide, whatnot. So trying to grow that and get behind it's a big thing. So, that kind of wraps up the show. I mean, the Ducks, we're kind of looking to see how they do. They're going to go on this road trip. We'll keep doing our shows every couple of weeks or so. You can check out and get our hockey gear on tpnhockey.com. We'll be doing more giveaways and whatnot. We're doing our fantasy hockey too. We're still playing in that. We have prizes for the top 3 spots in there. I don't know exactly what they will be at this time, but we'll give away some stuff. Also, I guess the last kind of part, I know people ask us about the jerseys too. I got a couple of the new jerseys. Eddie and I have gone off about the sponsorship stuff. Not going to go into that. But if you get the jerseys, buy bigger sizes. I ended up getting size 56 of the Premier jersey. I guess that's 2X. That's not big enough for me. I needed 58 or 60. So look into that. And that's all I got. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, Eddie?
The logos are freaking badass, and they look nice, especially the away one. 6 to midnight, Mike. 6 to midnight. Beautiful jerseys. We're not going to be the best team in the NHL, but we are definitely the damn well best dressed in the NHL. So thank you guys for continuing to follow us this new season. Thank you for everyone that contributed to the fantasy hockey. I'm looking forward to you trying to knock me off the top and Mike second, which I'm looking forward to meeting Mike again. And we'll have some fun things going on when Mike and I play each other. We especially have the sponsor for DraftKings. Maybe with Team Mike, Team Eddie, you guys can retweet. We'll pick a random winner that retweets whoever's going to win and send them something. So we'll do some more giveaways and be more like that with fantasy. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys for everything, and thank you for keeping this show going, because without you, I would just be talking to myself in the mirror and probably going to see a psychiatrist tomorrow if I'm doing that.
Definitely appreciate the support from everybody. We'll keep this show rolling as we have been and keep you updated with more giveaways and different things that we're doing. And let's go Ducks.